Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about becoming valuable. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, can you continue the series by providing some thoughts on what a developer in this position can do to better meet the requirements and become a valuable asset to the company? So this was a post on a video that I made called how to tell a dev that they are not productive enough, and the basic, like the summary of that video is that I basically explain that the problem with being productive or having talent or having skill or whatever you want to call it is that people will put expectations on you regardless of what you do. It doesn't matter if it's having a test in school or working a dead-end job in somewhere, or if you're the highest paid politician in the world. Like, there are expectations regardless of what you do. There are expectations on everything that you can possibly imagine, and whether or not you measure up, well, that is for somebody else to decide, and usually it's your boss who determines that for you. And so what I say is that when you have to tell someone that they're not productive enough, it's usually best to just use neutral language. Don't give false hopes or anything like that. Don't try to dilly-dally too much. Like, respect the other person. Understand that they're not being malicious. It's not, usually people are not trying to do a bad job. So try to understand that part and try to act with empathy, and then explain that you are currently doing A, B, and C, or you're performing at a certain level, and our expectations are higher than that. So unfortunately, you are not meeting those expectations. And then, you can watch the video if you want to go into the rest of it. But let's say then that you are in the position where you are being considered to be unproductive, or like so forth and so on, and you want to become a valuable asset. So how do you do that? Well, so I've had this conversation with quite especially junior level software developers who have a lot of anxiety related to this. And there are two things that I usually try to tell them. I give them the baddest news first, which is that if someone came to you right now and said, I'm sorry, you are not fast enough, or you're not meeting expectations in terms of, say, delivery speed, which is the classic one everybody's afraid of, especially in the beginning of things. The sad part that I tell them is that there's no way for you to solve that problem now. It's too late. And the reason why I say that is because you cannot magically just become more experienced than you are. I mean, sure, if you're sort of phoning it in and you're slacking off and stuff like that, yeah, then maybe this will not be an issue for you, because now you know that you have to perform a little bit more, and then you do because you can. But for the most part, people are not being slow because they're being lazy or stuff like that. It is because it's taking them some time to figure out all the problems. It's no different from fitness or anything like that. If you ask people to run as fast as they can, some people are going to be faster and some people are going to be slower. It's not like not everybody's trying to be as fast as they can, but they're a different fitness level. Same thing with intelligence or looks or whatever. Everybody's trying their best, but some are going to do better than others for a range of different factors. So if you're getting that feedback now, it's very difficult for you to do that, to make it work short term. I mean, you will probably do the thing that most people will do, study harder, or like so forth and so forth. You will do all the things that you can, which it basically comes to the second part I usually tell people, and that is that there are only really two ways to become truly indispensable or valuable to a company, especially in the early days, and that is deliver on time and without a lot of bugs and things like that, and sort of meet the expectations of whatever expectations they have on you. And I've also said it 100 times before, guys, remember that sometimes you might have unreasonable expectations on you. Sometimes it is really the case that you can't perform at a given level, or so forth and so forth. But in some cases, it's also that the company is putting expectations on you that is not really in proportion to what your skill level is, which is a sad thing when it happens, but it does happen. And the other thing is, make sure that you know all the things about the technical ecosystem, or like the domain. That is 99%, I think, of what my job is now, practically. And it is the thing that usually gets you the highest salaries and like the most positive and lucrative deals and like promotions and stuff like that. If you can ship code at a really high quality level and like you're really good at the technical aspect and you know everything about the industry and you know all the systems within the company and things like that, like you are what we call a domain expert. It doesn't have to be just in general tech, that's a different sort of thing, but usually even within their own company it is important, because most times the thing that people value with a software developer is their ability to ship software, like deliver stories and like work and so forth, and not have a lot of issues come from that. Usually it's just steady flow of value that you're producing, and that you can answer all the questions that people have, like where are the configuration, where is the documentation, how do I connect to that system, how does that system work, can you go and debug that thing that is happening in production, and which system do you check that in, and like things like that. If you know how to do all these things that are usually very specific to one company, for me and people like myself it's a little bit broader than that, because I don't just have the responsibility of knowing everything within my company. I'm also now at the level where people rely on me to know the entire industry, to a point where I can tell you whether or not your teams are following what is considered best practice for most teams in different companies, and tooling and things like that to guide them. Even like I have senior level software developers who like require guidance and this sort of stuff, because they might be very good at coding but they don't really have a understanding of this sort of stuff. But for the most part, that is the thing that is going to bring you the most value. The last person to ever get that's why I usually tell people that if you have layoffs or things like that, it's very rare. At least for me, at the very least, I've been part of 2 layoffs now, and I gotten through in the past like year or something like that, in 2 different companies, by the by, and I've never really felt any stress over it, because I know that the way that value is measured, unless it's something that is coming from like the high up somewhere, where like it's a really weird thing where you like your managers don't have any control, these are the things that they are always going to prioritize above all else. The last, like, even if you have been like it doesn't really matter, all else excluded, in my opinion, what you think and so forth about yourself, because if you know that your managers know that you deliver on time, there's usually not a lot of issues or like problems from you when it comes to the technical things, and you know most of like how the company operates and all the systems and where the docs are, and like you're the people, as I like to say, the go-to. Most people come to you with questions and you usually are helpful with answering questions and stuff like that. That is a high value person in any context, and that is usually the person that very quickly becomes the most important person in a company. That doesn't necessarily mean that just because you have those things that you're going to get promoted or things like that. That's a different video. But at the very least, you're going to be pretty safe in terms of job security within a company, if you can establish that personal brand within a company. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you get feedback for not meeting requirements and not being productive enough, short term, I'm really sorry to say that that's not really something much you can do about. You have to do the thing that basically everybody does in order to be better at whatever. Practice more, number 1, and just continue doing that and give it your all. Like, work really hard at becoming better at the technical aspects of your job and learn the things that are necessary in order for you to up your game, basically. That's unfulfilling, but it is literally the thing that is going to get you to be able to produce faster. There's not much more to it, in my opinion, at the very least. But if you want to become a truly valuable software developer, then apart from being able to do the technical stuff, make sure that you learn all the surrounding ecosystem within your company. If you know where the docs are and how the systems work and how to get accesses and all these common questions that you're going to get that people wonder about, or so forth and so forth, if you become, as I said, a little bit of a go-to, which is basically the person other people come to for help if they don't know how something works or where something is or so forth. Though if you can do those 2 things, then you are as valuable in terms of being a software developer as you can be to a company. If you want to get higher or like do the sort of things that I do and so forth, that's a different story. Then soft skills and other things comes into play. But those things are usually the things that I see in the developers who are usually the highest praised and most sought after in any company. Have a great day.